So here we are. I have a washed fleece. I just washed this fleece very lightly, and I have set it out to dry. It's a really nice long staple length. This one happens to be a Teeswater, and it's nice and long. It's a lamb fleece. Yes, it is. So I just wanted to show you what I do. Now you can see this fleece is holding itself together. I really love, you know what I love? I love when you can see, you can hold it up and it almost stays together a little bit and there's fiber between it. Not all the fleeces do this. The longer ones sometimes do as they begin to grow. Anyway, I love the way that, just love the way that looks. So what do you do with this? If you got a fleece that looked like this, what do you do with? Well, I'm going to show you what I do. So here I have a bunch of the locks the fleece that I just showed you, and what I'm doing is I'm taking, just looking in here for an end. Here's one, and I'm pulling it by the end, and I'm laying it out to dry. That allows this these locks to do another one. This is kind of stuck together. Sometimes you can separate them from the tip if it's that, and then let it dry. Again, find a tip. Here's a little tip. You can see these are the curly tips. You're looking for those. I'm going to pull one out and I'm going to lay it down. You can also push it together a little bit. The curl, you know, the fiber will, kind of like your hair or my hair, because I have curly hair, it'll sort of take the shape that you put it in. So if I let it dry like this, when you go to use your locks, they'll be all kind of curly and crunched up a little bit. If you're looking to tailspin or to do something with your locks where you'd like them to be a little longer and have that uniform shape, then this is what I do with them. Again, just pull them apart. Find the tip. Sometimes I open them a little bit. Now you'll notice when you do that, when you strip it a little bit. Here's one I did not strip a little bit. Let's put that right there. And here's one. Let's see if we can find a clumpy one that I can pull apart. See all those little cute little ends are there. Okay, here's one I'm going to separate. When you do this to the ends, frequently they get more fibrous. You see the difference between these. This one I pulled out just by itself. This one I stripped. And it when you pull it apart, well, this one's already kind of fibrous at the end. When you pull it apart, it will become more so. That's really too much. And this one I'm not going to use for that purpose. I'm going to come back to my pile, and I'm just going to grab a couple here. And I'm just going to pull them apart and lay them down. Then when they dry, they'll be nice and straight. You can dye them and do this to them after you've dyed them. But that's how you get those locks that look perfect. These locks are perfect, but they're just not laid out. Oh, I just love grabbing them. You know, I see those little tips, and all I want to do is open them up like this. Now this has only been this fleece has been really lightly washed. There you go. Here's another lamb fleece and an alternative way to get those nice locks laid out. Now these are skirtings. Which means this is pieces I'm not using to sell because they're they're a little clumpy. They don't hold their shape quite as well. It's a part of the animal that maybe is a little dirtier. So I'm using my skirtings to show you another way you can do the laying out of the locks. And that is, if you have a fleece like this, you can just line them up in your hand. And then when you wash them, sometimes you'll even get a nice big clump of them like this. There's a nice clump. And here's a nice clump. Now again, these tips are a little not quite as curly as I would use when I'm selling my fiber. But this I will use for another purpose, or I'll use myself. Again, skirtings is something that I would not be including in whatever you purchased, but I'm just going to pull them off like this ahead of time. That way, if I wash them by hand, instead of washing them in the whole fleece, like we saw with the white fleece, I'll show you what happens. So if you don't have a huge amount of fiber and you're not going to wash a whole fleece, you can dampen. This is tepid water I'm using on this. I've laid my locks out ahead of time because it was just easy to do with the fleece that I had. So again, I'm just rinsing these, holding them under the water, keeping them side by side. So now obviously when we go outside and lay these locks out to dry, they will already be arranged. So it's kind of skipping a step, but it also is a lot more time consuming if you do an entire fleece this way. So here we are back outside. I have my little handful clump here. These I'm going to just kind of squeeze into the towel to get some of the excess moisture off. And then when I lay them out, I'm just going to spread them just gently with my fingers, and they'll be all laid out straight. And they won't get all crunched up. Now with this you can also pull them out one at a time if you want to do that. And I find, like, if they get a little straight, sometimes if you just crunch them in your hand a little bit and then lay them down, the curl comes right back. So there you go. Enjoy laying your locks out.